Hello and welcome to another edition of the GNet TV News Project's In the Studio series. My name is Andrew McKeever. I'm the news director here at GNet TV. It's my pleasure to be with you today, and also my pleasure to have with us in the studio three, I think it's fair to say, distinguished folks representing the local business community and here to tell us a little bit about what's going on in terms of all of that, and there's a lot to cover. Starting off, we have Jonah Spivak, who is the president of the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and a former member of the Shire's Regional Marketing Organization. Matt Harrington is the executive director of the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce. And last but hardly least, we have Santino Leporati, who is the project manager for the Southern Vermont Economy Project. And welcome, all of you. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Sonny, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the Southern Vermont Economy Project. That got launched last September, and your coverage area is sort of the entire Southern Vermont area, Bennington and Windham counties.
Mm-hmm. It was built off of a legislative committee that worked for several years looking at Windham and Bennington County. The legislature designated the two counties a zone in 2015, and then the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation went out for a USDA Rural Community Development Initiative grant and received that this summer for $230,000, and it's a two-year grant, two-year project. And we were one of 23 in the nation to get that grant, so it's a pretty significant project, and we can go after it again in another 2 years. And really the whole goal of this project is to partner with organizations on both sides of the county that are doing work in economic development and workforce development to build their capacity. So we're working with chamber organizations, and we're working with towns and municipalities, downtown organizations, and regional planning commissions. And we are doing a region-wide assessment of their needs and what services they're providing, their skills, and we're looking at that data so that we can start to look at building a comprehensive training program for everyone involved in that work, so we can start building up the system that's provided and addressing those needs.
So one of the things I've heard often is that it's difficult for organizations that have been around for a while, that are sort of pursuing the same kinds of agendas, but not quite, to kind of work together and cooperatively kind of help each other out. Has that been your experience so far? Has that been something you've run across, that an organization over in Brattleboro or in Windham County has a hard time interfacing with someone in Bennington or in Manchester?
Absolutely. I mean, our geography is a huge part of that. You know, having the Green Mountains divide the two counties just is a fact. And so part of this grant built in 13 organizations as partners, spanning from Bellows Falls to Bennington to Reedsboro and Brattleboro. And they are grant partners that are meeting on a quarterly basis to address these issues. So we have that kind of regional buy-in built in on an ongoing basis, and so that was really substantial and important from the beginning of the project. And that's something that we're hoping will help to bridge those gaps, and then also just working on mapping those partners and people involved in this work throughout the county. We're hoping we'll start to show kind of where those gaps in service are, so we can help to identify that and help to build those bridges and build connections between people.
Okay. Well, Matt, let me bring you into this. About a month or so ago, the Bennington Area Chamber had its annual dinner, and you folks talked a little bit about a 2020 Vision Project. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and how does that fit into the whole big picture here?
Sure, I'll share a little bit, but definitely want to let Jonah, our incoming president, he's now president of the board, and that happened at the annual dinner as well, so I want to give some time to Jonah as well. One of the things and the exciting part that we've already started to meet with Santino is doing just that, which is asset mapping, which is how do we not duplicate efforts? How do we make it so that we're working smarter and harder at the same time? And so Sunny's been a great resource for us just in the little bit of time that she's been here. In terms of the 2020 vision, something that we did unveil at the annual dinner, the brass tacks of it, boil it all down, was that we thought as a board, after coming out of 3 retreats in 2016, that it made sense for us to take much more of a regional approach as a chamber. With the fallout of the Manchester Chamber in early March and April of last year, we took all of last year, met quite frequently as a board to discuss where we could come alongside and help, whether that be helping the Shires of Vermont, whether that be helping the Manchester community. And I think through some very careful discussion, it made strategic sense with, I think, the governance that our chamber has, with the resources our chamber have, with just even the staffing our chamber has, to move forward with a regional approach. And so what that means is covering pretty much Bennington County, but what we like with kind of the regional approach is we don't necessarily have to fit within the county lines. And so we go Manchester and up to the mountains, we come all the way down to Pownell, we can even dip into Williamstown, Hoosick Falls, and all those other areas. And obviously Bennington is our core membership right now. And so really we're taking this year all the way up to 2020, so that gives us a 3-year kind of ramping up speed to figure out, are all the players at that table of the regional table, do they want to see us grow in that area? Do they find value in the chamber that we are? And then kind of really taking some strategic steps to build out to become that region chamber. I don't know if you want to add some thought to that.
Well, I would just comment that, first of all, again, thanks for having us here. You mentioned my position as the current president of the regional chamber, which now exists for the area. But I'm still on the Shires Regional Marketing Organization, and that's still very important for what we're doing in terms of visioning, because keep in mind, the whole purpose is to collaborate and harness the energies of both the North and South Shires. And part of that is coming along with folks like Sunny and the work she's doing with economic development, which really does need to take more of a super regional approach for it to work. And that's partly to get up to the level that the federal government requires of us in order to access those federal dollars. But when you think about regional marketing, in my mind, we're still the Shires region, and it's very important that while we are coming alongside Windham County, it's really the Shires coming with Windham County and connecting together for the purpose of economic development. But when it comes to regional marketing and telling our story, we really want to take advantage of that regional brand, because that is what we all are already doing, and by harnessing the individual efforts that we're doing, we can more effectively tell that story. And one good example, first of all, we fully support the Manchester Business Association, which is a newly arising organization in Manchester. It's not dissimilar to the Better Bennington Corporation that we have in Bennington. But even when you think of a group like that, when they talk about marketing Manchester, they're including things like the Dorset Horse Show. They're including things like Dorset Theatre. So of course, nobody exists in a bubble here. And I should mention that while I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm a local business person. I grew up in Shaftesbury. I went swimming in the Dorset Quarry. I grew up in the Shires of Vermont, so I understand that relation very, very deeply.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you about the new MBA, or Manchester Business Association, beginning to emerge now, having had a couple of meetings. Does that seem like an organization that you're going to be able to sink in with and work together with, or their focus seems to be kind of pretty much like just on Manchester, as opposed to the more regional approach that you folks seem to be looking to do?
Yeah, and a couple thoughts there. I know we've met with Paul and that group a couple different times just to.
And we're at the meeting last Monday as well.
We were at the meeting just to extend a hand, and I think that's the tonality that what I like about Jonah coming in as president of the board, and I know he and I are very much in favor of this, which is the diplomatic, positive tone of reaching out a hand to any neighbor that we have. And so I think in the past there's been this very contentious North Shire, South Shire, border, not border, New York, Vermont, and to me in the new economy that's just not going to work, that we kind of need to be border busting. And so I think with Jonah leading the board and then myself leading the staff, we can create that message and keep on point as we move forward. And so a great addition was MBA. And that helps also, it makes so that our chamber doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. Growing up, there was a saying in my house that many hands make light work. And so just as John Shanahan and the Better Bennington organization down in Bennington help us lift all those businesses, whether that be Mayfest, whether that be that he's keeping an eye on specific downtown businesses. Additionally, we want MBA to do just the same thing, which is keep an eye on your town, create a brand for your town, and then let the chamber kind of come alongside in any way that we can and help more from a regional thing. If you come to visit the shires of Vermont, we want to be pointing people to Bennington, Shaftesbury, Arlington, Manchester. We want them to have their own unique, strong brand as well.
Look, the fact is that the MBA, based on their current mission, can't do everything that Manchester needs to market itself. Just a simple thing as having a calendar of events or a single point place that you could call. These are things that are bigger than just a local town-focused organization. And frankly, I see wonderful possibilities and opportunities in how we could come alongside them as well, whether it's perhaps co-locating for an eventual physical presence in Manchester, because we have to have that. We have to have a place where people can go that's a central storehouse for information, and it's logical to me that it be the same location. We should even possibly explore having the same share staffing. So what better way to have people be fully up to date with what's going on in Manchester, but also the region as a whole. So these are great ways to not only take advantage of efficiency of scale, but to also build the kind of bridges and create the kind of friendships that's going to carry us forward. Mm-hmm. We've got a great story to tell here.
Yeah, and I think part of where Sunny kind of gets wrapped up into this is that a chamber has to be so much more than just destination marketing, and I think that was some of the complaint that came out about the Manchester Chamber, that it was so destination marketing focused. And obviously we have a background in Bennington for doing just that as well, and that's not to say that we won't do it. Obviously we have an area guide coming out, we have a new website, so we're very understanding of the Vermont brand and tourism. Mm-hmm. Likewise, and additional to that, is all the business development and organizational development that we've heard come from both Manchester and Bennington. So part of where Sunny and I have begun to work together is even in developing a training course that'll roll out in summer and on into the fall to say, for our members, we're also offering training courses, supervisory skills, business development. And so as a chamber, maybe unlike an MBA and unlike a BBC down in Bennington, I don't think John Shanahan has any desire to roll out, training programs. That's where, again, a chamber and the model of a chamber and the organization of a chamber can come alongside with our additional resources, our additional staffing to kind of offer a full suite of services, destination marketing and business development. Mm-hmm.
And I just say, although a lot of things are kind of happening all at once right now, it's all emerging, but it's all very exciting, and they're all supporting each other, all of these efforts. If I'm able to kind of come in and support and take a higher level view and look at this system and say, oh, hey, Bennington, you have a lot of businesses that are looking for training in X. Like, why don't we focus the training program on this? And we can start to focus our efforts with informed information. And that's really what it's about, is how we work together in a smarter way to achieve the results, because we can't do it alone. And that's what this is really about. And how do we start turning our towns around together and really start turning around our economy and being smart about it. We've tried, I think all the towns have tried to do it on their own for the last several years, and this is about, we can't do it that way. We can't do it the old way of doing business. We have to try a new way, and this is what that's about.
It's time to start thinking big.
Yep.
I absolutely love that simple thought. And this is the way to do it. We have to team up together and make better use of those resources. The fact that some of this training costs can be covered by federal grant dollars that we're pulling in as a result of this working together makes perfect sense. The efficiencies of scale of us working together, this is the way we've got to go.
Whenever I hear talk about the Southern Vermont economy, it always comes around to how do we grow jobs? How do we offset the demographic challenges that we face here, an older population? And I guess I find myself wondering, okay, tourism is obviously a huge part of that, but it probably isn't the entire answer. And I guess I just wondered, what do each of you think about how do we grow the economy that maybe isn't so directly tied to tourism, whether it's a manufacturing facility or a service businesses of one kind or another? What are the steps that you feel we need to get to from today to at some point down the road where you either assist folks who are already here, the economic gardening approach, I think I remember hearing Bill Colvin refer to it as opposed to kind of going out and trying to steal somebody else's factory and plunk it here, and all of a sudden, like by magic, we have 500 new jobs. But how do you see that process unfolding, where we get more businesses flourishing and with the labor force to make them work?
This is a big question. It's multifaceted.
Yes.
And let's start at the base. I mean, it really starts with educating our potential workforce, and it starts there, making sure that our schools are top quality. We do need to do the marketing piece because it does double duty with economic development. The people that visit here also may end up relocating their businesses here. Businesses that are already here that want to entice talent here have to have a quality of life that's appealing for people that want to come.
And we need the infrastructure, we need broadband and cell access, we need we need open spaces that are easily transferable into business space, and we need to know where those are located, and if the business wants to expand, they need to know how to access that and who to talk to. We need that information public and easy to access, and so a lot of this is about figuring out who those people, who to talk to about that, where to find that information, how towns can start coordinating this information and accessing that in an easier way to make projects happen. So that's a lot of what this is. It's a lot of information gathering, and it seems like a lot of kind of more planning again, but it really is about making this more transparent and open to people in the community so that they can understand the process and make this happen.
And speaking with one voice.
Yeah.
As we come in alignment, as we work together, I mean, we have Bennington, we have Manchester, we need to put those voices together so we're making a stronger impact. We can't forget about Montpelier. Montpelier cannot forget about us.
And I think that's right where a regional chamber comes in and why that organization makes so much sense right now. And talks that we've had with Paul and the MBA group, and talk that we've had with municipalities like the town of Manchester and the town of Bennington, which is in your own sandboxes, you will never gain the voice, or dare I say even the respect, up in Montpelier. With a collective organization like a regional chamber, now you can say we've kind of amassed, and even now, to Sonny's point, and when you start to build a SEDS process over in Windham, and we're going to attempt that over in Bennington County, when those can come together, now all of a sudden, to Jonah's point, the voice got louder because a lot of people collectively came together and agreed on a common approach and a common goal.
And we got, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to say, you mentioned that term SEDS, which I know stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Where are we at with that? Because
let Sonny speak to
that's
that.
a Sonny question. All right.
I'll talk a little bit about it. We kind of have two initiatives going on in either county. In Windham County, you have the SEVIDS organization, the Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, which has been in existence for several years now, and they have a SEDS that is going up for renewal in 2018.
And what is that, Sonny? Is SEDS declaration? Is it a report? It's a report that outlines the county's economic strategies and goals, and it's a tool that communities and towns can use to start to align. A town can take this document and look at it while it's writing its town plan and start aligning its own goals so that it makes sure that I'm going to write a section on economic development, and it can align it with a SEDS goal, and then that town can then go out for a grant, and if it's in alignment with its regional SEDS, it can get extra points on a federal grant and could have a chance of getting more funding from that. So that definitely is an economic boost right there. But really, it's just kind of a comprehensive approach. It's a community building activity. It's a way for people to come together as a unified voice and to have a kind of collective idea of where they want the community to go into the future. So they're moving forward for the next draft. And on the Bennington County side, the Bennington Regional Economic Development Group just had its first meeting. And they're forming right now to kind of explore the possibility of a SEDS, but more importantly, just to pull together kind of the North and South Shire and to come up with their own vision, and see, just see where they want to go and explore that and see if they're ready
to join in with Windham County come this summer.
Okay.
And before we entirely leave your earlier question behind in terms of how do we get there, I just want to comment on leadership, because both the planning piece is vital for that, but you have to have the leadership in place, and we see that emerging, not just in Bennington, but also in Manchester, and also in young people like Sonny and Matt here, who are passionate about the region, who are coming up through the ranks. We have to be looking forward to that next generation, and this is how we do it, by both taking the leadership now and starting to bring up the next generation of leaders who are going to carry this forward ultimately.
And I would say, too, a SEDS process for Bennington County can't exist without local leaders stepping up for a multi-year process who are committed to this.
Did you say can or can't?
Cannot exist without this. So we do need committed people who want to step up and volunteer to do this and lead this project through. And that's what's really important and vital to make this succeed.
I was going to ask you, what is your sense of the feeling of statewide officials, from the governor's office on down? As we all know, the governor is eager to see a level-funded budget going forward into fiscal year 2018. Are you getting the feeling that state assistance, whether it's in grants or some kind of in-kind support, is going to be kind of tough to obtain going forward, or is it going to be basically about the same as it's been for the last couple of years?
Well, I'll start, and that'll give you time to think.
By all means.
My background comes from being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, and so that to me, those assistant programs are always kind of icing on top of the cake. So I make a plan, we make a plan as a board and as a staff to move forward based on, very conservative and yet, assertive budget, and we try and find the cheapest yet most effective way to tell that narrative and that story that the Chamber's trying to do. And so, I think we've really tried to change up the culture in the last year at the Chamber to really think entrepreneurially, to really think nimble and agile. We don't really actually rely a whole lot as an organization on grants. A lot of it revolves around, us throwing together events, our membership, some of our relationship with the State Welcome Center. But membership really does drive I would say, our financial piggy bank, but also just even our values and why we do what we do. And so when we look at, where the state's going, level funding, we just sometimes keep our head down. I think we have a vision of where we want to get to. If they want to throw us some dollars, we're happy to accept it. But at the same time, we prepare that if we never got funding, we would still be very, very sustainable and very much moving forward on our 2020 vision.
Mm-hmm. That's classic Yankee pragmatism, and that is frankly how we work here. But Montpelier, watch what we're doing. We are the model of how the state's going to move forward. I think our stature has grown over the last 10 years, and all I can say is keep your eyes open, because what's going to be happening over the next 10 years is going to be rapidly accelerating. And frankly, I think what we're doing in terms of a regional chamber here is going to be the model for the rest of the state to follow. And we're already starting to get good feedback from the state in terms of the job we're doing down here, and that's going to continue. So yeah, we don't need Montpelier, but Montpelier is going to be keeping their eye on us, and that's the way we want it to be.
All right. Well, fascinating discussion, and I'm sure to be continued discussion as we go forward through this year. We're hoping to have Paul Caroccio and some of his friends from the Manchester Business Association on soon. We're going to have Jonathan Cooperman from the BCRC in for a show, and it'll all be, I think, a subject we'll be following very closely. Just before we go, is there anything any of you wanted to say before we check out? Is there any point that we didn't touch upon that was something vital you wanted to mention?
Let me finish by saying I think a lot of it is a positive outlook. Especially with where the world is today, you can take two different approaches. You can wake up every single day and decide your attitude. And I think part of the role of the Chamber, and hopefully we're we're setting the example for every member that's a member of ours, for every downtown that we're a member of creating a narrative, crafting a story. You asked about how do we build economic development, and in my mind, it's letting people know, hey, you can move up into southern Vermont, you can get away from the chaos, you can raise a great family. It's a very safe community, very educational based community, and yet you can have a small business that works very, very well in this economy. And I think as Sunny alluded to, kind of with Wi-Fi and telecommunications hopefully expanding, now you can get out of the craziness of New York City and yet still do jobs that New York City would be able to do, but why not do it in the shires of Vermont? And so to me, it's about telling that positive story, and let's stop kicking ourselves when we're down. You know, we're getting out of a recession. We're pretty much out of it. It's going to take a little bit longer. Be patient with us. Give us some grace. We're figuring all this out, I think, in
as
real
we go.
time. And I think I'm very, very optimistic about the future.
So coming up on May 24th, there's going to be a Southern Vermont Economic Development Summit for professionals in the area. It's going to be at Stratton from 10 to 4, and following the event there will be a young professional networking event, but it's open to all attendees as well. There's going to be awards going out to young professionals in the area, and it will be at the Base Lodge at Stratton. So we just want to let everyone know in the area that that's going to be happening. We'll have the agenda and more details to come, but just put that on your calendar. Thank you.
All right.
And I would just build on that to say that it's a rapidly evolving time. Things are fluid, and that our main goal is to look for solutions and build bridges and stop looking backwards.
Okay. Well, on that optimistic note, then we'll call it a wrap. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank
Sunny Leporati from the
BDCCs.
Southern Vermont Economic Project.
Southern Vermont Economic Project. Matt Harrington from the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce. Jonas Spivak, also from the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce. And
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching today. Hope you've found this interesting and informative discussion. And we'll be back with another In the Studio edition very soon. Thank you.